Hey everyone, hope you're well. I've decided to sit back a little bit today and hopefully fit in the camera a bit more because when I'm editing, I realise my head's going above the top or I'm slouching off of it, so my posture's really all over the place at the moment. Um, I'm also annoyed that this sits here like this in front of me on the camera all the time. So I don't really know what the answer is. I need someone who's clever at this kind of thing to help me get in the shot without my camera being in the way, my microphone being in the way, and all of that. Anyway, so the topic today, I've just had a really big meeting at work. I needed to talk to my boss because I have been in my job for 7 years this past week, and I just felt like I never bring up pay. I hadn't discussed my pay since 2018, and that was like the second time I'd ever done it in that job, and I hadn't really pushed any of it at all. And I had been hearing different people talking about different things and blah blah blah, and I just thought, you know what? I'm really bad at this because I just feel like I don't really know how it works, or I can see it from all different perspectives, and like the business doesn't want to spend more money on running, and it. Why would they when they've got to get other people in, or traditionally it was always a growing company, all those kinds of things. So I didn't really want to rock the boat in the past, but now we're in a bit of a different position. The company's a lot bigger now; it's part of a bigger group. Blah blah blah. I'm not getting into the fundamentals of work here, but it made me start thinking about careers and jobs and this, that, and the other. And I thought, do you know what? I follow Rach, who did the neurodiversity panel with us. She also does her Twitter account called Adulting ADHD, and she does a Twitter account called Neurodivergent Professionals. So if you are neurodivergent, it's well worth following her because she'll tweet stuff about work. So after the meeting, she was tweeting saying, "Oh, keep in touch if you need anything. Looking forward to hearing more from you. Looking forward to sort of seeing what you have to say about neurodivergence and that kind of thing. Want to hear more from you and all of this." So then I was just looking at what she does, and I messaged her going, "I've seen your neurodivergent professionals account. I've got a question for you. I've been in my job 7 years. I'm doing really well at it. I do work well. All my reviews are positive. Whenever they have a town hall meeting, they always reference something I've been involved in, that I played a major part in. How do I go about asking for more pay?" And it was just fascinating because she did it anonymously, but then there was like a good 70 or 80 responses at the time, just saying, like, some people saying just move, some people saying just ask, some people saying, ask for a new position and kind of play it by ear from there. So ultimately, I kind of just bit the bullet. We were chatting separately. She said, "You're just gonna have to ask, essentially, and if you don't like the answer, then you know what the next step is." And I was like, "Yeah, but the problem is not liking change. It's not liking new environments. It's not knowing whether a new situation would be good or bad." And I like where I work. I don't want to upset them by making them think that I'm unhappy. So it's complicated, isn't it? So anyway, long story short, I messaged my boss and we had a good chat today. And that's not necessarily what the video is about, but it's just a preamble about what we're covering. I will cover that a little bit. He basically talked me through it. He didn't disagree. He didn't say no. He didn't say anything was wrong. He literally just said, "At this point, we need to review what you're doing and create a new job, essentially, that focuses you on your strengths and drops things you don't want to do. And at the end of that, we'll have an idea of what it is you want to be doing here, and we can work on that from there." The problem I've had is, obviously, it's really nice to have very specific jobs with goals and targets and things you have to jump through. And if you hit this, you get that, and so forth. And so I've always had like salesy jobs in the past where it's like, if you're hitting target, you're doing well, and you can potentially demand more, but really your money comes from your commission and that kind of thing. But now I don't have any targets. I don't have any expectations. I just do, and I do well. It's like I do what I'm told. I do what I need to do. I don't get micromanaged. He doesn't have to ask me to do anything. I'm just ticking along in the background, and stuff gets done. So he was like, in the new world, you've got a choice. Do you want to be more scrutinized, more reviewed, more analyzed, or do you want to kind of lean into something and try and make something work? And if it doesn't work, that's the kind of accountability. So that was complicated. So anyway, where we are at the moment, I've got to give him a list of everything I'm currently doing, how much time a week it takes me, which is a nightmare because I can't think of all that stuff. Like, I'm already at 48 hours a week. I only do a 38-hour week, apparently. So I'm obviously not quite accurate on like all of the different timings, but I was saying to a colleague of mine, I'm not even factoring in the amount of times people call me to ask me a question and end up talking to me for 45 minutes. And they're talking about getting us back in the office, where that would be like 3-4 hours a day. So that's been interesting. But what it got me thinking about was how hard it is for neurodiverse people to get into careers. Like, I've only really been looking at this in anger for the past few weeks because it's just interesting to me. But so many of us are creatives who make pictures and comics and music and just freelance stuff. And I kind of get it. I absolutely get it. As somebody who has this like pipe dream of kind of following the Kev model of, you know, getting a successful vlog or getting a successful stream, or, you know, I've got so many projects on paper that I think I've got a game idea that I would love to make one day that I think would be a perfect game. It'd be a great game. It will make people think and it'll be really fun. But I'll never make it because I'm not, even though I can program, I even have the software to make it on, having a solid 2 years to sit and devote myself to making a game just ain't feasible. I've got books that will take me months to finish if I sat and did them, but I've got a job and I've got a family and I do other bits and bobs, so they're just sat there waiting for me to feel like that's what I need to do. You know, I do the vlog every other day, I do the streaming every other day, and it's, you know, it one day something could happen. I'm just going to keep chipping at it. I enjoy it, even if it doesn't succeed. I enjoy it. I enjoy having ideas and writing them down. I enjoy writing stuff, but I see how when you can't function in a work environment because it's not comfortable or you're not being given the support you need, you end up falling into, okay, well, I've got that book, I might as well hustle it. And I'm sure if I had to hustle it, I could hustle it into something that would pay the bills and keep me going. But part of me feels like, as well as that side of it, that the world of work just isn't attuned, it's really hard to know what you want to do. And I feel like I stumbled into my job because someone just said to me, come and work with us. I've got a business I've started, come and help out. And then I never left. That's literally how I got my job. I tweeted that I'd left teaching because I couldn't handle it, basically. And I was severely depressed. And Angry John just said, come work with us. So I did, and I haven't left. But I'm kind of in that position now where I'm like, I don't really like that situation. And if someone said to me, is this what you planned on doing with your life? Is this what you want to do? The answer is like, absolutely not. Like, who in their right mind dreams of working for a living? It just doesn't make sense. When I talk to Oliver, I said, what do you want to do when you're older? He's like, I want to be a scientist. I'm going to be a scientist. It's a fact to Oliver that he's going to be a scientist when he's older. It's not a maybe or an if or a what. If you literally said, when you're in your 30s, you are going to be, he'll say a scientist. He won't say like an old man or a dad or whatever. In his mind, he'll be a scientist when he's older. And that becomes a struggle for me because where he is at the moment, I'm like, will he handle being in a lab environment? Maybe not as a 9-year-old he won't, but by the time he's an adult, we need to give him the skills to be able to, or hopefully have an employer that is understanding. I'm freaking out a bit with him because he wants to be a scientist and he knows a lot of stuff, but he can't write. And it's like, we need him to learn to either type more, which is the answer. You know, I don't write that often at work. Be able to make notes, I guess. I don't know how often you'd need a pencil and paper as a scientist. I feel like there's probably questions I need to sit and answer for him myself, just so that I can get it straightened out. Because I'm quite proactive, I feel. I know that Emily's really into art, so I make an effort to try and get her into more art and show her things and show her people and get her to think about stuff. And I feel like I'm encouraging her to pursue something she's into. But if she changes her mind tomorrow and says she wants to be a scientist, an engineer, whatever, then we'll work on that. But with Ollie, it's like, I'm trying to feed that. It's an idea. I absolutely admire the fact he knows what he wants to be, because he can then, when he opens a book and looks at job roles, or goes to an agency, or he's like, when he's picking, if he does GCSEs and he does A levels and he decides he wants to do more, if he can look for jobs and he can go and do that. And it might be that he ends up going and being just a worker in a lab that's enough for him to be interested in. It might be that he just tinkers with stuff at home and makes stuff in his spare time while he does whatever else. The fact is, he's got an interest in how things work and how they work together, and that might blossom into something better. Whereas I do not. I'm in that position of, if you gave me the choice, I'd like to be a house pet, please. Yeah, I think my ideal career is, resident person who just kind of gets fed and watered and doesn't have to leave the house and doesn't have to interact with people, and just make sure I get my, don't take me for walks, just give me like a daily run of TV shows and films, and I'll read comics, and basically I want to swap lives with Molly, just not with the bugs and the short lifespan she's had. She's had a little. She's better now, but she's been under the weather for 2 years. I'll swap with Molly. Molly can go to work every day and write bids and make sales work. And I don't think that's a laziness thing. I think that's just genuinely a lack of real drive to want to do anything that constitutes work. And I know that's what Kev kind of had. He didn't want to have a boss. He didn't want to work for anyone. He wanted to just do whatever he finds fun and whatever he's passionate about. And so that's why he's made a career out of Football Manager and out of just talking. Whereas I don't know. I'm just like, it's hard. I feel like Neurodivergent Professionals is a really good thing for me to follow because it's covering things that I'm not realizing are a problem. I didn't realize, one thing I didn't realize, this is a bit of a tangent, but it's relevant, it's related. I didn't realize how many things my work have done to accommodate me that they don't officially know they've done it because I'm different in any way. They've just done it because I had a problem. So I think I've talked about this before. I would literally be in a meeting, listen to someone talk, and then I would realize that my eyes haven't been open for like 20 minutes and I'm just listening to their voice and I'm not paying attention to anything else. And it's because I'm so overloaded by following their PowerPoints and the lights buzzing above me and all the listening and the focusing and trying to think about what's going on, that it just overwhelms me. And we figured out if we turned the light off in the boardroom, I was fine. I could sit through a meeting, I could listen, I could make notes, I could engage. But if the lights were on, game over. I couldn't handle it. And they figured that out. And now it's funny because we'd be sitting in the meeting and someone would go, shall we turn the light on? And they're like, no, just leave the light. And sometimes they'll say, oh no, Richard would basically shut down if you turn the lights off. But other times they'll be like, no, just leave the light off. We don't have the light on. They don't make a deal out of it. And I think that's amazing. They also replaced the light thing above me. There was a bulb there, and they put this cover over it so that it didn't do it what it did in the room. Basically, I was more productive. I was better. I was more able to act. And more able to cope with this light being done. And I hadn't really considered that was a difference. That was just a me thing that they fixed. And I think that's kind of it. When my boss rang me, he was very, very straight with me. He didn't try and say any excuses or willy-nilliness. He just said, this is where we are. This is where I am. This is what we need to sort out. And he said, I know I need to just be clearer. And I know Lee commented actually saying having an understanding boss is much better than moving somewhere else from one. That's what I said to her. I don't want to move. I'm happy here. I like it here. This is a company I've worked at. But don't get me wrong, like I've just said, I didn't say this to him exactly, but I never dreamed of this being what I did with my life. It's a very complicated tightrope I'm walking down of I'm happy to do it because I need to have a job. I like the people. If I have to have a job, that's the place I want to do it. But if I could get away with doing what I want for a living, that'd be amazing. So, it's a headache. And I feel like it's a headache for all of the people. It's probably a headache for everyone alive, but it's a headache for people who are stuck in the situation of not being able to find the environment they need. I've got extremely lucky that I found an environment that will cater for me. In previous jobs, they absolutely didn't, and they treated me like I was just a bit of an oddball. I worked at an insurance company who genuinely just treated me like a Fruit Loop, and it really made me uncomfortable. And it's funny because when I rang Claire, I've told you this story before, but when I rang Claire and said I've been sacked, she got freaked out and started crying and was upset, whereas I was ringing her delighted that I'd managed to get myself sacked from this hellscape that I was absolutely being destroyed by. I'd figured out I figured out basically that if I quit, I owed them holiday. If they sacked me, they owed me like the remaining month's pay. I got lucky that they paid me 2 months because they knew I'd just had a kid and just got married, or was getting married. But it was like one of those, I can't keep doing it. I'm going to jump in front of a train, or if I keep doing it, it's going to be awful. But if I don't keep doing it, I just have to be a bit poor until I go to university. So needs must, and that was it in the end. It was really crushing me. It was horrible. And I feel like that's quite common for everyone, especially neurodivergent people, to try and fit into that environment, the corporate, the serious, the official. This person's above you, therefore you've got to kiss their ass 24 hours a day. This person's above them, therefore they're God. Poo always flowing downhill. And if you're at the bottom, you're basically the blame for everything and the person who has to fix everything. and then all of the glory gets passed uphill and all that nonsense. So being at a company like I am now, it's not like that. When I was a teacher, it was very much like that. It was awful. You'd give a kid a detention, they'd tell their dad that you'd picked the wrong kid, and then you'd be trying to tell your boss how you absolutely didn't pick the wrong kid. This kid needs to come for a detention, and your boss would tell you they've already told the dad that he's not going to do the detention because they didn't want the hostility. And it's like, yeah, lot of nonsense there from several. I've dropped in several of my careers there that have just been so soul destroyingly depressing, and I realise it's not depression and anxiety and stress. It's all of this stuff that is not being met, that is being met now. But I'm creating stress by the fact that I'm realising I was far behind. I've realised I've let myself get drastically behind my colleagues on in terms of pay and progression and changes because it got a bit comfortable, and I said to him, I got a bit comfortable with the fact that I knew exactly what I needed to do, but I realise right now that I need to get further forward, and I'm not going to be in my 30s forever, and I don't want to be doing that in my 40s and thinking, oh my god, I've just lost a decade. So, oh, it was a mess. Jobs are a faff, and I really wish I could figure out a focused point to run through. I feel like at the moment I'm enjoying doing these videos the way I'm doing them, but Kev has rightly pointed out they'd be a lot better if I was actually doing stuff instead of talking at them. But I feel like some of the stuff I want to talk about is just important to raise and debate. And if one person watching says to me, have you thought about this, and that makes me feel better, it's worth me doing the video. But also if I say something that makes you think, okay, hang on a minute, that's a good point, I want to do that. It's hard though to wire it. Like, I feel like talking to my boss, I realised actually my expertise are around the public sector, and rather than being a specific part of the process here, I should probably have a broader view of it. And he's gone, that's quite cool. I'll go look at that, and we're going to talk about it. And I'm hoping I can make that a thing, but it's still not what I would have. Sheepdog age 9 isn't going, I'm going to be a public sector manager. It's just not. It's just not. And I know not everyone gets that. That's why we have these people in the world that do these jobs, because they're the people who didn't dream of anything else. But I don't know. I feel like I'm lucky I don't have to try and hustle a talent, but I feel like I'd probably be more comfortable being under my own, because there's still this whole go and meet random people. And I haven't. One thing I really wanted to cover off, and I made a note of it, and I haven't got to it, is I haven't mentioned, even though they do things already that cater to my sort of divergences, let's call them, my needs, I haven't said to them that I'm pursuing any kind of diagnosis, because I just fear that might make them act odd. And I feel like I spoke to someone about it, and they were like, yeah, well, we already knew anyway, didn't we? Like, we already knew. And not because I told them. They were just like, it's not news. Like, I've worked with you long enough to know, and I'm sure that's what they'll react like. But I'm still kind of like, if it's officially written somewhere, it might hinder things. Like, you just don't know, do you? It's not supposed to, but let's be realistic. I feel like it would. I don't know. They've never given me a reason to think that. I don't want you to think I'm saying they would do anything. They wouldn't. I feel like they've done me a solid. As I say, they've really looked after me in places that I'm grateful about. But they're small things, but it's like they've done them without really making a deal of it, which is how it should be. But it is weird not knowing whether to talk about it, whether to bring it up, because they're saying to me like, you should go and meet all these teams, and that could be part of your role. You could drive around doing this, and I'm like, going to meet strangers, driving around, holding meetings in front of them. I don't mind talking at people, but if they're, I don't know. Maybe it'd be fine, but it's kind of the thing that I really didn't like going on these meetings, and found reasons to not have to do them. And I don't know. I feel like that maybe needs a conversation, but I don't. It worries me that I'm having these problems without even realizing a lot of them were problems. I always feel in two minds. Like, is it better that I didn't know and I just struggled and I've worked it out, or is it better that we know with Ollie and therefore we can plan ahead, but we might create unnecessary stress for him or for us, or for not for us in like a whatever stress it takes to make Ollie all right is fine. I don't mind going through the ends of the earth stress as long as he's okay. Same with all of the kids, but I don't want to create unnecessary, like, we should try and get you onto this, or look at this, or do that, if it makes him then worse off. It should help, you know. I don't know what I'm trying to say really there. I feel like, I mean, with the science stuff, like my parents got him a microscope. We got him a bug hunting kit when he was a little bit younger that he could put bugs in, and it microscoped them through the cup. And you know, he's got tons of sciencey books, and I show him YouTube videos about stuff, and I talk to him about things. And if I learn about a new concept I've never heard of, I like to tell him about it because he's then fascinated by it for a bit. And yeah, I just want to nurture it. That's what you got to do, isn't it? Well, I'm waiting to figure out. Ben's only 4, but I'll figure out what his thing is that he's interested in, and I'll just send him stuff about it. You know, Emily quite likes that I just send her pictures, or I show her art, or I buy her a book on art, or I challenge her, or I say, "Can you draw this?" And you know, she just does it. It's just the way we roll, and yeah, I like my dad did that. I remember writing my. This is getting a bit long now, but I remember writing my application to university and realizing that my dad had been giving me like game programming software for the PC, that when the PC broke he made me fix it myself because it was like, well, you broke it, figure it out, you know. And the PC was in my room, and they're not necessarily all conscious thoughts to be like, let's put that there, because I think with the PC being in my room was just I had the biggest room out of the kids and I needed somewhere to put it. But the point is, all these things helped me to be into geeky stuff like computers, and that has given me a lot of skills that I wouldn't otherwise have. And yeah, I just feel like I don't know what to do with any of that now. It all feels a bit messy and a bit weird, and careers are hard at the best of times, but I think it is a lot worse when you don't have the full kind of environment on your side, let's say. So yeah, I would recommend following neurodivergent professionals. I keep looking at my thing because I don't want to forget the name of it on Twitter. They are well worth following. It's ran by Rach, say, who was on the panel. If you talk about work here, tell me what you do for a living, or if you're struggling at all and you need help, and we can try and help. Or if you're in a job and you just hate it because it's not working, what could you ask? You know, just ask for advice. I feel like at the moment I'm on a bit of a drive of that's the sort of thing I want to do videos about. Not all of them are going to be about that. Some of them are just going to be my nonsense cartoon life stuff. Some of them are going to be whatever. But at the moment, these things are popping up because they're playing on my mind. And yeah, I will keep you posted on how it goes. I've got another meeting Thursday next week. I kind of very specifically said, when are we talking next? What are we covering? What am I giving you? That kind of thing, to just make it very clear that I knew what I was doing. But I find it very hard to focus. He's talking, and I'm like, I really can't track what you're saying. I'm scribbling notes. I'm trying to loop myself back into the conversation. And I mean, it's a bit like probably watching me vlog. What is he talking about now? You know. But yeah, okay. That is my lot on work. And just any questions, stick them in the chat. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know how your week's going. Let me know how life's going. And yeah, just how do you how do normal people how does a typical person come up with cool ideas that they go and do? Or do you not? Do you just not? I mean, my mind's always working all the time, constantly thinking. So I'm always trying to think of stuff because I'm bothered about something and I can't stop thinking about it. Claire's told me she doesn't have that. She doesn't think ever unless she's thinking about what she's thinking about. She can just switch off. So things don't play on her mind the same way they play on mine, because it's literally constantly 24/7 there. So how do you have ideas and just think, I'm going to do that? You know, when I said to my boss, maybe I could do the public sector stuff, I was like, can I? I don't know. That seems like a stupid thing to say. Why did I say that? But part of me is like, there's no reason why I couldn't just start at naught and work up to 1 million and whatever. Like, just make it work. 100% done. But why can't I have that idea with videos, with content, with other stuff? I don't know. My brain just doesn't. It's like a constant puzzle. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap up because this is longer than I intended. But yeah, work's a mess. How do we fix it? And yeah, hope you're all well. Catch you all soon. Cheers.